The first thing I noticed wasn't the house. It was the silence. Not peaceful silence. Not birds and wind silence. This was the kind of silence that feels watched. I had driven 6 hours into the mountains. Phone signal gone an hour ago. Tires crunching over a road that barely deserved the name. Pine trees leaned inward like they were guarding something. Or hiding it. The GPS gave up 3 miles back. And then there it was. My house. Or what everyone else called that abandoned place on the ridge. Paint peeled like old scabs. Windows clouded over. The porch sagged in the middle, one bad step away from collapse. A for sale sign lay face down in the weeds, sun-bleached and forgotten. I shut off the engine and just sat there. 5 years. That's how long it had been since I last saw it. Back then, I bought it at a county auction for less than a used sedan. No bidding war. No questions. Just a dusty folder, a handshake, and a warning from the clerk. Most people don't last up there. I should have asked why. But life happened. My dad got sick. Work pulled me overseas. Then COVID froze everything. Renovation plans turned into a someday pile. Until now. I opened the truck door and that's when I heard it. A car door. Then another. I froze. No one was supposed to be here. I stepped back behind my truck and peered through the trees. 2 police cruisers were parked in my driveway. Lights off. Engines running. And standing between them, clipboard tucked against her chest like a weapon, was a woman in a crisp blazer and oversized sunglasses. The HOA president. I didn't know her name yet, but I would. And I would never forget it. My first thought wasn't anger. It was confusion. HOA? Up here? The nearest neighbor was a 1/4 mile downhill. The road wasn't even maintained by the county. There were no gates, no signs, no neighborhood. I watched as one of the officers knocked hard on my front door. My front door. The one with my deadbolt. The one I hadn't opened in 5 years. The HOA woman leaned toward him, whispering something. He nodded. That's when the knot in my stomach tightened. This wasn't a wellness check. This wasn't curiosity. This was a move. I stepped out from behind the truck. Hey! All 3 of them turned at once. The HOA president's lips pressed into a thin, satisfied smile, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. One officer's hand drifted toward his belt. "Can we help you, sir?" he asked. I looked past him, at the door, at the porch, at the house I owned. "Yeah," I said. "That's my house." The smile widened. "Oh," the woman said lightly. "So you're the one, not the owner, the one." She introduced herself before I could say another word. Linda Carver, HOA president. She said it like a title that should mean something to me. "It doesn't look abandoned," I said. "Because it isn't." She tilted her head. "That's not what our records show." I pulled my keys from my pocket, letting them jingle just enough to be heard. "What records are those?" She ignored the question. "This structure has been unoccupied, unmaintained, and in violation of community standards for years," she continued. "We've issued multiple notices." I laughed. "Once. Short. Where'd you send them?" Her smile flickered. "To the address on file." "Which address?" Another flicker. The officer cleared his throat. "Sir, we received a report of trespassing and unsafe habitation." I pointed at the driveway. "My truck is registered. My name is on the deed. And I haven't stepped inside yet." Linda crossed her arms. "That's the problem." There it was. The first crack. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was doing me a favor. "You can't just disappear for years and then show up like nothing's changed." I matched her distance. "Watch me." Her eyes hardened. "This mountain community has standards. Safety. Aesthetic harmony." I glanced at the trees, the rocks, the wilderness. "Aesthetic harmony?" The officer shifted again. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "is this property actually within your HOA boundary?" Linda didn't hesitate. "Yes. I didn't know it yet, but my gut did." I reached into my backpack and pulled out the folder. "Date. Survey. County stamps." I handed it to the officer. He flipped through it slowly. Linda's smile didn't move. Not yet. Those documents are outdated, she said. The HOA absorbed this parcel during the rezoning. My chest tightened. Absorbed. Like land was a suggestion. The officer looked up. Do you have proof of that, ma'am? She gestured vaguely down the mountain. It's all in our system. The officer handed me my folder back. I'm going to need to verify this, he said. Linda's jaw clenched. And that's when she changed tactics. She raised her voice. For the record, she announced, this man has been ignoring HOA fines for over 3 years. What fines? I shot back. Property neglect. Environmental risk. Unauthorized structure. I stared at her. This house was built in 1978. She smiled. Exactly. The officer's partner frowned. How much are these fines? Linda didn't even blink. Just under $48,000. The world tilted. $48,000. For a house you say is abandoned? I asked. She nodded. Interest accumulates. That was the moment. The wait what? Moment. Because suddenly this wasn't about safety. It was about money. And control. I took a slow breath. Officers, I said, keeping my voice steady. I want it on record that I'm denying any HOA authority over this property. Linda laughed. Oh, that's adorable. The officer raised an eyebrow. Ma'am. She waved him off. You don't understand how things work up here. I looked at the house again. The peeling paint. The broken porch. The place everyone forgot. Or thought they could take. Yeah, I said quietly. I do. Linda turned sharply. Excuse me? I understand exactly how this works. She stared at me. I stared back. And neither of us blinked. That's when the officer's radio crackled. Static. Then a voice. Unit 12. Confirm property dispute status. The officer glanced between us. I think, he said slowly, we need to pause this. Linda's smile vanished. No, she snapped. We need to proceed. Ma'am. She's trespassing, Linda said, pointing at me. And that structure is condemned. The officer looked at me. Is it? I shook my head. No. Linda stepped forward. Then prove it. I smiled. Oh, I said. I will. Because what Linda didn't know, what no one up here knew, was that this wasn't just some forgotten cabin. And I wasn't just some guy who disappeared. And the paperwork in my backpack? That was only the beginning. The officer didn't arrest me. That alone irritated Linda. I could see it in the way her fingers tightened around that clipboard, knuckles whitening like she was squeezing the truth out of it. Sir, the taller officer said, lowering his voice, we're going to need you to step back while we verify the status of this property. Linda cut in immediately. No, he doesn't get to just stand here. I turned to her. Funny. I was thinking the same about you. Her eyes flashed. You've been gone for years, she snapped. You abandoned this place. That forfeits certain rights. There it was. Not a legal argument. A belief. And beliefs are dangerous when someone thinks they're law. The second officer pulled out a tablet and started typing. Parcel number. County records. The boring stuff that usually decides everything. Linda leaned over his shoulder like she owned the screen. You won't find it, she said confidently. Our HOA system predates the county's last update. The officer frowned. That's not how jurisdiction works. I'm calling legal, she announced loudly. This man is interfering with HOA enforcement. I felt something shift. Not fear. Opportunity. Because once lawyers get involved, lies stop being casual. They become records. Go ahead, I said. She dialed, put it on speaker, and said the words that changed everything. Yes, hi. We have an owner here who's refusing to vacate an HOA-controlled parcel. The officer's head snapped up. Owner? He repeated. Linda froze. Too late. She just acknowledged what she'd spent 20 minutes denying. Silence stretched. The wind picked up, rattling the loose shutter upstairs. I smiled. Careful, Linda, I said softly. You're starting to contradict yourself. She glared at me, then turned away, lowering the phone. That's not what I meant. The officer stepped in. Ma'am, is he the owner or not? She hesitated. Half a second. That was enough. He was, she said. Before abandonment. The officer shook his head. Property law doesn't work like that. Her voice sharpened. Then you don't understand mountain communities. There it was again. That belief. The second officer cleared his throat. I'm seeing something interesting, he said. Eyes on the screen. Linda stiffened. What? There's no HOA overlay on this parcel. The air went cold. That's impossible, she snapped. He turned the tablet so everyone could see. County boundary. Clear as day. The line stopped 50 yards downhill. My house sat alone. Outside. Linda laughed nervously. That map is outdated. The officer scrolled. Updated 6 months ago. She swallowed. I could have celebrated. I didn't, because Linda wasn't done. She straightened her blazer. Even if this parcel isn't formally within the HOA, she said carefully, it's still subject to community impact regulations. The officer blinked. Those aren't enforceable by HOAs. She smiled again. They are when the community votes. I felt it then. The pivot. This wasn't about jurisdiction anymore. It was about power. And she hated losing it. Officers, she said, changing tone completely. I want this documented. This man has been hostile, uncooperative, and potentially dangerous. I laughed. Dangerous. She pointed at the house. Look at it. One spark and the whole ridge goes up. There it was. The real threat. Fear. The officer held up a hand. Ma'am, unless there's an immediate hazard, we're not removing him. Her face hardened. Then I'll file a complaint. Against who? The officer asked. Everyone. She turned to me. This isn't over. I nodded. I know, because now I understood something she didn't. Linda wasn't protecting a community. She was protecting a secret, and I was standing on it. As the officers stepped aside to make a call, Linda leaned in close. Low voice. No witnesses. You should sell, she whispered, before things get complicated. I met her eyes. That sounds like a threat. She smiled. It's advice. I shook my head. No, I said. It's a confession. Her smile vanished. The officer returned. For now, he said. We're clearing the scene. No citations. No removal. Linda's jaw tightened. For now, she echoed. The cruisers started backing up. Gravel crunching. Linda didn't move. She just stared at the house. At me. Like she was memorizing a crime scene. As the last cruiser disappeared down the mountain road, Linda finally spoke. You have no idea what you're sitting on. I smiled. Oh, I said. I do now. Because buried beneath this ridge, beneath the land she thought she controlled, was the reason the HOA wanted this place empty. And in part 3, I would find out exactly how far they'd already gone to keep it that way. Linda didn't leave. Not right away. She stood there after the cruisers vanished, pretending to scroll her phone while actually watching every move I made. Like she was waiting for me to slip, or panic, or run. I did none of those. I unlocked the door. The sound of the deadbolt echoed too loud in the mountain air. Linda flinched. That's when I knew. Whatever she was afraid of, it was inside. The door protested as it opened, would groaning like it hadn't been asked to move in years. Dust spilled into the sunlight. Cold, stale air rolled out. The house smelled like pine sap, old paper, and something metallic. Not rot, not mold. Something sharper. I stepped inside. Behind me, Linda's voice cut through the quiet. You don't want to do this. I didn't turn around. I already did. Inside, the place was frozen in time. Furniture covered in sheets. A calendar still open to March 5 years ago. My old boots by the stairs, exactly where I left them. No signs of squatters. No vandalism. No abandonment, which meant someone had been making sure no one stayed. I felt it in my gut. I walked to the back room, the one Linda couldn't see from the porch. And that's where I noticed the floor. New boards. Not many. Just enough to stand out if you knew what to look for. Fresh nails. Recent work. Someone had been here. Recently. I crouched, pressing my palm against the wood. Cool. Solid. Too solid. I knocked. The sound came back wrong. Hollow. I smiled despite myself. There it was. The thing no HOA paperwork could erase. Outside, Linda's patience snapped. "You're trespassing on a regulated structure," she shouted. "I'm documenting this." I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled up the loose rug. A metal latch stared back at me. My chest tightened. I didn't remember installing that. I lifted it. The hatch opened with a hiss of stale air. Stone steps descended into darkness. Not a cellar. Something older. My phone light cut through the dark. Concrete walls. Reinforced. Industrial. This wasn't part of the original house. Someone had added it. Carefully. Quietly. And then I saw the markings. Survey paint. Numbers. Coordinates. I recognized them instantly. Because 5 years ago, before life pulled me away, I'd paid for a geological assessment. The ridge sat on top of a rare mineral seam. Nothing flashy. But valuable. Very valuable. The kind of thing developers salivate over. The kind of thing you don't want homeowners asking questions about. Footsteps upstairs. "Linda, you have 30 seconds to stop," she said, voice tight. "This is your last warning." I climbed back up slowly. Held up my phone. "You want to explain why there's an unregistered reinforced structure under my house?" Her face went pale. For the first time since I met her, she looked scared. "That's not what you think," she said quickly. "Then what is it?" She opened her mouth. Closed it. Silence. That silence told me everything. "You've been keeping people out," I said. "Calling properties abandoned. Forcing sales." She shook her head. "You don't understand the pressure we're under." "There it is," I said. "Who?" Her eyes flicked to the tree line. Downhill. Toward the rest of the community. "The HOA isn't just an HOA," she said quietly. "It's a holding pattern." "For what?" She swallowed. "For land consolidation." My pulse thudded. "So you scare owners off. Rack up fines. Force sales." She didn't deny it. "You're sitting on a parcel that blocks everything," she said. "Road access. Utility corridors. Extraction permits." Extraction. There it was. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was worse. "You used the cops," I said. "We used the system," she corrected. "The way it's designed." I stepped closer. "And the structure under my house?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Environmental testing. Illegal testing." She didn't argue. A rumble echoed faintly beneath our feet. Not thunder. Machinery. My blood went cold. "You're still active," I said. She met my eyes. "Yes." I pulled my phone back up. "I'm calling this in." Her hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. "Don't." There it was. The line. The one she shouldn't have crossed. I looked down at her hand. Then back at her face. "Let go." She didn't. I stepped back. Her grip tightened. And the floor creaked. Not the old boards. The new ones. A sharp crack split the room. Linda screamed. The rug slid. The hatch edge reappeared. And something deep below us powered down. Sudden. Forced. Like a kill switch. Linda released me. Breathing hard. Eyes wide. "What did you just do?" she whispered. I stared at the floor. Then at her. "I didn't do anything. But someone else had. And they knew I was here now." A low horn sounded in the distance. Not a car. Industrial. Warning. Linda backed toward the door. "You need to leave," she said. "Right now." I shook my head. "No," I said. "You do." Her eyes burned with hatred. "This land will bury you," she hissed. I smiled. "Good," I said. "Then it'll finally be honest." She fled. Down the porch. Into the trees. Gone. I stood alone in the house. Above an illegal operation. On land everyone wanted quiet. And for the first time since I bought this place, I understood the real danger. Not fines, not cops, but what happens when you stand in the way of people who already think they own everything. In part 4, I wouldn't be alone anymore, and the mountain would stop pretending. I didn't sleep. I tried, but every sound felt amplified. Wind scraping the siding, trees popping in the cold, something deep below the house humming like a restrained animal. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. No signal. Yet the screen lit up. Unknown caller. That alone was wrong. I answered. You're not supposed to be there. A man's voice. Calm. Practiced. Not angry. Worse. Certain. Who is this? I asked. A pause. Someone cleaning up a mess your HOA president made. So Linda had already talked. Or been made to. I'm on my property, I said. Another pause. Longer. That's debatable. The hum beneath the floor shifted pitch, like it was listening. You opened something, the man continued. That created a safety concern. For who? For everyone. That's always how they say it. I'm notifying authorities, I said. He chuckled softly. We are the authorities. At least the ones that matter tonight. The call ended. Headlights swept across the trees. Not police. No sirens. No markings. 3 black trucks rolled up the road like they owned it. They didn't park in the driveway. They parked around the house. Containment. I stepped onto the porch. Cold air hit my lungs. 4 men stood in the yard. No uniforms. Earpieces. Heavy jackets. The kind of boots that don't care where they step. One of them raised a hand, not waving. Signaling. Sir, he called out, voice polite and firm. We need you to come with us. For what? To clarify some ownership discrepancies. I laughed. You break into my land in unmarked vehicles, and I have discrepancies? He didn't react. Behind him, one truck door opened. I saw equipment. Drilling cores. Environmental suits. Not cops. Not criminals. Contractors. I'm not going anywhere, I said. That wasn't a request. The mountain chose that moment to growl. A deep vibration rolled through the porch boards. Everyone froze, including them. What was that? One man muttered. I smiled. That, I said, is why you shouldn't have cut corners. Their leader's jaw tightened. Sir, the structure beneath this house is unstable. Because you rushed it, I replied. And hid it. Silence. Then, how do you know that? Because I paid for a survey you buried. I didn't say it. I didn't have to. Another vibration. Stronger. A crack zigzagged across the porch beam. One of the men swore. We're shutting it down, the leader barked. A radio crackled. Too late, came a reply. Pressures already shifted. The mountain wasn't just land anymore. It was a witness. I felt the house lean. Just a fraction. Enough. You need to evacuate, the leader snapped. Now. I shook my head. You don't get to end this quietly. He stepped closer. You want to die for paperwork? I met his eyes. No, I said. I want the truth on record. I raised my phone. Live stream. 1 bar. Barely. Enough. The red light blinked on. The leader cursed. Turn that off. Say it again, I said. Slower. Another rumble. Trees shook. Somewhere downhill, an alarm screamed. That's when the first real crack echoed from beneath the house. Concrete splitting. Metal screaming. The men backed away. Fast. The leader's voice dropped. You have no idea what you've just done. I nodded. I do, I said. I made it impossible to bury. Sirens. Real ones. This time they were coming up the mountain. Multiple units. Searchlights cut through the trees. The black trucks started moving. Retreat. Containment failed. As they pulled out, the leader looked back at me. This doesn't end with you winning, he said. I looked at the house, at the land, at the secret cracking open. No, I replied. It ends with you being seen. The first sheriff's cruiser slid into the driveway. Then another. Then state vehicles. Too many to count. The mountain exhaled. And for the first time since I arrived, The silence felt earned. In part 5, the paperwork would finally catch up to the power, and Linda wouldn't be the one in the hot seat anymore. By sunrise, the mountain was crawling with people who didn't belong there. Marked vehicles, clipboards, cameras, the kind of presence that makes powerful people nervous. The sheriff didn't knock. He stepped onto the porch like a man who already knew what he was going to find. "You the owner?" he asked. "Yes." He nodded once. "Good, because this just turned federal." They sealed the property by mid-morning. Yellow tape wrapped trees like cautionary vines. The unmarked trucks were gone, but their tracks weren't. Heavy treads, fresh, trying to pretend they'd never been there. I sat on the tailgate of my truck while 3 different agencies argued over jurisdiction. State environmental, federal land management, mining safety. Not one of them mentioned the HOA. Not anymore. Linda arrived at 9:42 a.m., not in her blazer, in running shoes, hair pulled back too tight. She didn't walk past the tape. She didn't have to. Everyone recognized her. "That's her," someone muttered. Linda's eyes locked on me. Pure fury, not panic. That came later. An investigator approached her. "Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions." "I'm the HOA president," she said automatically. The investigator didn't blink. "Not today, you're not." They pulled records, HOA bylaws, fines, forced sales, shell companies. Everything Linda said was community safety suddenly had numbers attached. And numbers don't care about tone. By noon, a map was pinned to the side of a command truck. Red dots, each one a house, each one labeled abandoned. Except they weren't. They were targeted. An agent walked me through it. "Your parcel blocked their access corridor," he said. "They needed continuity, so they used the HOA to clear people out." He nodded. "Cheapest way to buy land is to make it unlivable." Linda's lawyer showed up. Briefcase. Smile too practiced. He lasted 20 minutes. Then he stopped smiling. They brought out photos, contracts, environmental reports stamped preliminary. Do not file. I recognized my survey. Altered. Buried. My name scratched out. Linda finally cracked. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she hissed. "They promised." An agent cut her off. "Who promised?" Silence. The worst answer. By late afternoon, the story hit the air. Local first, then state, then everywhere. HOA used as front for illegal extraction operations. The mountain had a headline. The sheriff pulled me aside. "You understand," he said carefully. "This is going to get uncomfortable." "For who?" He looked at me. "For you." They red-tagged the house. Unsafe. Temporary evacuation. I watched them lock my front door. Again. This time with authority. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt exposed. Because now everyone knew what was under the ridge. And what it was worth. Linda was escorted to a vehicle. Not arrested. Yet, she looked back at me. Not angry anymore. Afraid. "You don't know what you just stepped into," she said. I nodded. "I know exactly what I stepped into." That night, my phone didn't stop buzzing. Developers, lawyers, strangers offering to solve problems. One message stood out. No name, just coordinates. And a time. Tomorrow. Because exposure doesn't end a fight. It changes who's fighting. And in part 6, I would learn how expensive the truth really is. The coordinates led me off the highway, then off the paved road, then off anything that looked public. By the time my headlights caught the clearing, my phone had gone dark again. No bars, no GPS, just trees and a single light hanging from a temporary pole. A table, 2 chairs, 1 thermos steaming in the cold. Someone was already sitting there. He didn't stand when I approached, didn't introduce himself, didn't look surprised to see me. "Sit," he said, pouring coffee into the second cup. I stayed standing. "Who are you?" He smiled faintly. "Someone who fixes problems before they become lawsuits." I sat. Not because he told me to, because I wanted to hear the rest. "You've made a lot of noise," he continued. "That attracts the wrong kind of attention." Funny, I said. I was thinking the same about you. He nodded. Fair. He slid a folder across the table. Thick, heavier than paper should feel. Inside, maps, valuations, projected yields. Numbers that made my stomach tighten. The ridge wasn't just valuable. It was strategic. We buy your parcel, he said. Above market. Quietly. And the investigation? He shrugged. Concludes. And Linda? A pause. She's already irrelevant. I flipped another page. A clause caught my eye. Indemnification. Permanent silence. You want me gone, I said. We want certainty, he corrected. Land doesn't like uncertainty. I laughed. Neither do people. He leaned back. You can walk away rich, he said. Or you can keep fighting and discover how small one owner really is. Threat. Clean. Polite. The most dangerous kind. I closed the folder. Let me ask you something, I said. If this is so legal, why meet me in the woods? His smile didn't move. Because legality is slow, he said. And you're fast. I stood. He didn't stop me. You have 48 hours, he said calmly. After that, the offer changes. How? He looked past me. Down. On the drive back, my headlights caught something nailed to a tree near my property. A notice. Eminent domain. Preliminary review. Not official. But not a bluff either. At the motel that night, I finally checked the livestream replay. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. And one message pinned at the top by an account I didn't recognize. If you sell, we lose. If you stay, you're not alone. I stared at the screen. Money. Pressure. Silence. Or resistance. Exposure. Risk. The mountain had been quiet for centuries. Now it was asking a question. And in part 7, I would have to answer it. I didn't answer the offer. Not yes. Not no. Silence can be a decision. And silence apparently pissed them off. By morning, the mountain looked different. Not physically. Politically. Survey stakes appeared overnight along the access road. Orange flags like warning wounds in the dirt. Someone had cleared brush near the ridgeline. Too clean, too fast. Preparation. At 8:03 a.m., my phone rang. This time there was a signal. Are you the guy from the live stream? A woman asked. Yes. A breath. Good. Because they tried this with us too. We met at a diner an hour down the mountain. For booths. 7 people. Different ages. Different stories. Same outcome. Forced sales. Skyrocketing fines. Safety violations. Quiet threats. One man slid a manila envelope toward me. Inside, deeds. Photos. Emails. Pattern. They isolate you, the woman said. Make you feel crazy. Like you're the problem. I nodded. That's the trick, another added. If no one compares notes, they win. By noon, there was a group chat. By evening, a plan. Not to fight harder. To fight smarter. We filed injunctions. Public records requests. Environmental holds. Every slow, boring tool power hates. The machine stalled. The response was immediate. My bank flagged irregular activity. My insurance dropped coverage. The motel manager suddenly lost my reservation. Pressure. Petty. Effective. That night, someone drove past my property. Slow. Lights off. Once. Twice. A third time. Message received. Posted again. Not angry. Precise. Names. Dates. Documents. Receipts. The comments exploded. So did the calls. A state representative requested a briefing. Then 2. Then a federal aid. Sunlight does that. But sunlight has a cost. At 2:41 a.m., the alarm at the house screamed. Motion sensors. Cameras. Figures moving where they shouldn't be. I watched from my phone as someone cut power to the perimeter. Professional. I called it in. This time, the response was slow. Too slow. By the time units arrived, the figures were gone. But the message was clear. This wasn't paperwork anymore. The next morning, a letter was taped to my door. No letterhead. No signature. Just 4 words. Last chance. Sell. I stood there longer than I should have, hands shaking, not with fear, with anger. At noon I made the call. Not to them, to the people at the diner. We're doing this publicly, I said. All of it. No hesitation. We're in, they replied. Because when power expects you to fold quietly, the most dangerous move is to refuse. And in part 8, they would stop pretending. So would we. By morning, the mountain had become a hive of activity. Media vans at the base. Federal inspectors climbing the ridge. And the black trucks that had shadowed me? Gone. Almost. Linda returned. This time in heels. A legal team at her back. She didn't make eye contact. I didn't expect her to. She walked in like a soldier who knew the battle was lost, but had to look the part until it ended. I watched her from the porch, camera in hand, live feed running, every word, every glance, public documentation, evidence. At 10:15 a.m., the first error happened. One of her team started yelling. Maps, red annotations. They'd misfiled property boundaries. Publicly, before hundreds of witnesses online. The murmurs rose. What does this mean? The ridge she claimed is HOA controlled isn't, I said into the camera. Everyone can see it, another ally said. The tide shifted. By noon, lawyers started calling each other. Emails flagged. Attachments forwarded. The mountain, once quiet, was now screaming its truth. Linda tried to spin it. Press conference. Prepared statements. But one live clip from my feed, already viral. Her calm demeanor cracked. Correction, she stammered. The word correction tastes like defeat. A drone overhead buzzed. Shiny black. Not ours. Not hers. Press. Civilians. Transparency. Power mistakes don't hide in plain sight. They shine. By mid-afternoon, phone calls started flooding. Federal inquiries. State investigations. The HOA office? Empty. Not abandoned. Evacuated. Prepared. But too late. Linda finally spoke publicly, her voice shaking. I was mistaken about the property lines. There were misunderstandings. Misunderstandings. A word that sums up lies when exposed. The comments exploded. Online. On TV. People sharing documents. Verifying claims. The mountain's secret no longer a whisper. A roar. I sat back. The wind picked up. Branches scraping siding. The hum from below? Soft now. As if the mountain was approving. By sunset, Linda's team was gone. She lingered, glancing at the ridge. The cameras. The evidence. Her empire crumbling quietly. I sent a message to the group chat. Phase 1 complete. I typed. Replies came fast. Public narrative secured. HOA exposure total. Next. Ensure safety. Not just victory. The mountain settled. But the game was far from over. In part 9, I would finally understand the full scope of what I'd uncovered. By dawn, the ridge was crawling with investigators, journalists, and curious neighbors. Traffic stretched down the mountain. No one had permission to be there, but everyone had heard. The mountain had become public property in spirit, if not in law. Linda didn't show up. Her office called instead. Statements, apologies, attempts to reframe everything. But the trail was too long, too documented. Environmental reports previously buried surfaced. Emails, land records, and altered surveys were printed, scanned, and shared online. Her HOA fines? Invalidated. Her authority crumbled. The media had a field day. Mountain mystery exposed. HOA president lied about property control. Photos, videos, testimonies. Public attention was relentless. By afternoon, federal agents had spoken to her. A formal warning issued. She was being investigated for obstruction and falsifying documents. Not prison yet, but reputation? Gone. I walked through my house. Every creak, every board, every hidden hatch now known. the reinforced structure beneath, secured by authorities for environmental testing. The mountain that once threatened silence now held oversight. Messages from the diner group pinged. Your actions saved others. HOA's scheme is unraveling. Land is safe for now. I realized how many others were counting on my stand. Still, the cost was visible. My privacy gone. The land publicized. The mountain a stage for everyone to see. But worth it. By sunset, Linda attempted to regain control, posting statements trying to spin the narrative. Every effort backfired. The mountain, documents, media, and public record were aligned against her. A lesson in transparency. I stood on the porch, looking at the ridge. Wind rustling the trees. Hum from below now silent. The mountain had spoken, and this time it was being heard. Tomorrow there would be follow-ups. Settlements. Investigations. Recovery. But today, victory. And in part 10, I would finally close the chapter and claim the peace I'd earned. The morning sun poured over the ridge, golden and warm. No sirens. No unmarked trucks. Just the mountain, steady, watching, approving. I walked through the house. Every board, every creak, every hatch now accounted for. Inspections completed. Authorities satisfied. The reinforced structure beneath, secured, documented, and finally safe. The diner group gathered nearby, faces tired but smiling. Victory tastes like exhaustion. I can't believe it worked, one said. It had to, I replied. It had to be done right. Linda, gone. No press conference. No attempt at spin. She was silent. Legal actions pending, her reputation dissolved. A cautionary tale now permanently on record. I stood on the porch at sunset, whined through the pines. Hum beneath the floor gone. For the first time since buying the house, I felt it. Peace. Neighbors came by. Some had watched online. Some had been on the receiving end of HOA schemes. They thanked me. Some shook my hand. Some hugged. All understood what it took to stand up. I updated the live stream one final time. This is our land, I said. Our rules. Our accountability. The mountain keeps us honest, but we keep each other honest too. Comments flooded in. Gratitude, encouragement, and a shared promise. Vigilance. As night fell, I looked at the stars. The mountain quiet, the house secure, the landmine, and the truth finally out. This was more than victory. It was a reclaiming, control, freedom, legacy. The HOA could no longer hide behind power. No one could. I poured a cup of coffee, sat on the porch, listened. The wind through the trees, soft and steady. And finally I felt it. Not fear, not tension, not fight, but calm. The mountain had its witness. I had mine. And for the first time, the house felt like home.